In the previous lesson, we set up a card component with configurable attributes for easy reuse. But components are not just for displaying data and can also be used to build interactivity on your websites using component events. Component events allow you to send data to parent components or pages so they can respond accordingly. Let's return to the card component example we built in the previous lesson. On this page, I have 3 instances of the card component, their content defined by the component attributes. On this page, I want to show and hide different sections of content below the cards, depending on which card has been clicked. If these cards were not 3 instances of the same component, it would be a case of adding a button to each card and adding a click event to each button to change the value of a variable to use in the show-hide formula. But using components, we can do the work just once. If you want to follow along with this lesson, use your card components from the previous lesson and pause the video here to set up 3 sections below. Match the sections according to the content of your cards. In my case, I have labeled the sections Beginner, Intermediate, and Experienced. First, let's set up some logic on the page to show and hide these sections. We're going to use a variable and the show-hide formula, which we explored in previous lessons. View the data panel and create a new variable. Let's call this visible section and let's set the initial value to beginner. Later on, we're going to change the value of this variable from inside the card component using a component event. Next, let's use the show-hide formula to show and hide the 3 different sections. Select the beginner section and view the attributes panel using A on your keyboard. Find show-hide and click the FX button. Here, select the visible section variable, and to the right, press the plus button to add a new node, search for equals, and enter beginner, or whatever you've chosen to label your first section. Next, select the second section element, view the attributes panel, and click the FX button next to show hide. Again, select the visible section variable, add an equals node, and I'm going to set this to show if the variable value equals intermediate. Finally, on the third section, configure the show-hide formula to show this section if the value of the visible section variable is equal to experienced. Deselect all elements and you'll now see only the first section, matching the logic we just set up. Now, let's configure the card component to send the event. Double-click into the card component. Add a button to the card component and style it however you like. This is what we're going to use to trigger the component event. Next, view the data panel, find the event section, and click the plus button. Name the event click, and in the dialog, we can set a test value for the event. Defining a test value here helps us understand the purpose of the event. Earlier, we defined the variable visible section on the parent page that we want to respond to the component event. This variable is a string, so it's good practice to send an event that matches the data type of what you want to change in the parent page or component. Set the test value here to a single string, and in this case, I'll choose beginner. Now, here we can see a warning that the click event is not yet triggered. Let's fix that. Select the button and view the Events tab by pressing E on your keyboard. Select a click event and add a new action using the plus button. Next, select Trigger Click. And here we can define the data we want to send with the event. We know that we want to send a single string as event data, which in my case matches the name of the label attribute on the card. Click on the FX button and choose the label attribute. For extra safety, I'm also going to use the lowercase formula on the attribute, given I used a lowercase comparison to configure the show-hide formula for each section on the parent page. You've now set up your first component event. Now let's go back to the parent page. Select a card component in the element tree and view the Events panel using E on your keyboard. You'll now see the click event you set up in the component available to configure. Click that, and now you can define what happens on the parent page in response to the component event and data. Click the plus button to add a new action and choose the Set Visible Section variable. The editor will automatically populate the test value from the event emitted by the component, so you can check that everything is wired up correctly. Next, do the same for the remaining cards. Next, activate test mode using T on your keyboard and click the buttons on the cards. You'll now see the visible section below respond to the component events which have triggered the visible section variable to change on the page.